So welcome to the Community Matters Committee meeting, Thursday the 23rd of November. What the date? We're doing good so far. We have got quite a number of agenda items to get through this evening, so we will push on. We will start off with the chairman's welcome, a couple of bits of housekeeping, and then a brief statement that we need to make. So for everybody here, we are not expecting any fire drills this evening. Okay, so if the alarms go off, it is advisable that you head out as quickly as possible. There's a fire exit behind. And then also out through the building. The assembly points across the other side of the road in the car park, and acting as fire marshal for this evening is Wendy Clark. So she will make sure that we are all safe and sound out of the building if needed. Yes, Dan.
If we go down there, is the side gate open to go out?
I'm sure it is. Yes. Yeah.
But we advise go out.
We advise that way.
Especially if the
and not to use the lift.
Yes.
Yeah. Second item on there is around recordings of meetings. So this part here, I just read out verbatim the standing order. So subject to standing order 4.1.3, a person who attends a meeting is permitted to report on the meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. To report means to film, photograph, make an audio recording of the meeting's proceedings, use other means for enabling persons not present to see or hear the meeting as it takes place or later, or to report or to provide oral or written commentary about the meeting so that the report or commentary is available as the meeting takes place or later to persons not present. Further detail is given in the Portishead Town Council Filming and Recording Policy, Policy C8, and the Portishead Town Council Behavioural Policy 4.1.3. A person present at the meeting may not provide an oral report or oral commentary about a meeting as it takes place without permission. So basically what that says is if you are going to record, then you need to ask permission of the chair. We don't stop it. We don't say no, but we just make sure that everybody is aware. Okay. Moving on to the third item on the chairman's welcome. Sorry, the clerk's trying to race me ahead into agenda item 2. We're still on agenda item 1, yeah. Item 3. It has been brought to the attention of the clerk and myself as chair that during the last Community Matters Committee meeting dated Thursday the 26th of October 2023, that during discussions related to agenda item CM 073-10-23, project management process, some comments may have caused offence to Portishead Town Council officer or officers. As chair of this committee, I would like to take this opportunity to offer an apology to all for any offence that is caused, or that was caused. Ben, I think you've got just something to add to this.
Yeah. After this project process, I've been proposal is a work in progress and not a finished article. We understand it is a matter for discussion to create a project management process for the council. Many people have been involved in its creation, and no criticism or offence was aimed at any individual person. Work will continue to create the right process.
Thank you. And so I would like to put forward a recommendation to strike from the minutes of the Community Matters Committee meeting on Thursday, the 26th of October 2023, agenda items CM 073-10-23, the project management process. So I would like to propose that to be removed from the minutes. Can I have a seconder? Bob Cartwright. And then if we can move to a vote, everybody who is in favour of that being removed from the minutes from the last meeting, you could put your hand up.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm abstaining.
And
Yeah.
one abstaining. Did you have another comment you want to make? Okay,
No, well, it was.
thank you. Okay, that's that one dealt with. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Councillor Preston, who is sent her apologies, is not well. So if we can just make a note of that, please. Agenda item 3, declaration of councillors' interest and requests for dispensation. Members declare any disclosable pecuniary, financial, or other interest items on the agenda as required by the Council's Code of Conduct, Standing Orders and Localism Act 2011. So does anybody, we'll go around the room and just check. So Janet.
None that I'm aware of.
Ben.
It's just the update on item 4.2, Christmas lights, that's all.
Sorry.
No, none that I'm aware of.
Emma.
No, none that I'm aware of.
Paul.
No.
I need to make everybody aware of my personal interest in the Friends of Northwestern Big Woods, the grant application, 7.1. So to make sure there's no issues with that process, when we get to that point, David has kindly offered to chair that piece. I will leave the room and go and stand outside the building. If somebody could please come and get me when you finish.
Could you just stand outside the door? Because otherwise it's going to take
I
us out.
can stand outside the door. I don't know how soundproof it is, but I will go and stand in the far corner of there so I don't hear what's being said. Okay. And I have put that on the document. That's the entrance. Okay. So moving on from that, we have agenda item 4, which is to receive the chairman's verbal update report. Lake Grounds visitor survey. Final approval of the survey contents has been confirmed. Well done, David. That was an easy one, wasn't it?
And we've got a training date to agree as well.
6th of December.
Training's on the 6th of December. So and then what's the plan for that then to actually go into action?
Well, I guess so, but we need to be trained first. And I think we're probably looking for more volunteers.
Okay.
Because I think the team is relatively small. So Janet's on it, yeah.
Who's going to take that training?
I think it's the person from the group that did the research proposal, Ethos.
Yeah.
I think.
I can't complain.
No.
Okay.
It's all been agreed, so it's just
I know, I'm absolutely fuming about it.
Play nicely.
very nicely.
Have you got my name down for that?
I haven't got, but if you,
Yeah, please. I'll try and get Lisa involved as well.
fantastic. Thank you. I've got Jim involved. So,
Are you looking for volunteers to put their names forward for this?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And are they okay to get in touch with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody wants to volunteer to be part of that Lake Ground survey, let David know.
It's a 12-month survey, and they're looking for. I guess we need to do each of us about 2 3-hour slots every quarter, maybe a couple more than that. But obviously, the more people who can do it,
When it's sunny, you can do it all the time.
But I guess also that not everyone needs to turn up to the training. We're just to pass on messages about how what to do. I can't imagine it's going to be terribly complex.
All right. Thank you, David. 4.2 Christmas lights switch on 2023. The switch on will take place Monday the 27th of November. Roads will be shut between 5 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. The event starts at 6 p.m. with the switch on at approximately 6:30. fireworks at approximately 6:40. I will note that my grandson is out of the way because he doesn't like the fireworks. And then the Christmas market is on the 10th of December. Road closures at midday, reopening at 8 p.m. The market itself runs from 2 p.m. through to 7 p.m. Any point? Ben, you were first to put your hand up. So
Slight correction, it's 2 till 6 p.m.
2 till 6 on the
Christmas market.
Christmas market. Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks, Ben.
We will be putting warnings out throughout the event regarding the fireworks. We have been running our social media since June time, but we still do get people that do appear with dogs and say you didn't tell us about fireworks. Well, we kind of did. So we've been using the same company we've used literally forever. So we do use the quieter fireworks as best we can, and to try and take everyone's kind of opinions into consideration around it. So we are trying to work with people. So yeah. So if you're in the high street at 5 o'clock, can you please scamper out of your vehicle and get out of the way so we don't have to get it moved.
We'll do. We will be down there for the lights, but like I said, we are sort of standing out of the way because our grandson really doesn't like fireworks. Bob,
Yeah, Ben, I was just wondering, have we managed to sort out this expansion on the live stream, or do you want me to have a go, or?
I will put you in touch with Craig. He's the one to speak to. Craig,
Yeah, so I'm more than happy to try, but the trouble is some residents tend to might gripe because obviously you may have judgery because of the amount of other people that are using the internet space that's down there at the time.
Yeah, I'll give you Craig's details.
Yeah,
and then just finish with Craig because he's the one to speak to. And then kind of what can or can't be done. So you might just put you near the stage area where you've got an angle. Yeah, or at the back, whatever, on the stage, whatever, and then just
I can live stream the stage because obviously it's the camera will be fixed, but it's obviously there are other things going on. I think the VWs will be down there.
Yeah, so the V-dubs, the Coast Guard, and the fire service obviously escorts Santa through on the sleigh. With plans to arrive, all being well, around about 6:25.
Well, I could do like I did last year.
We start at Hero end and then work through. Yeah. So yeah. I'll put you in touch with Craig on that one.
David, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I was just going to. I mean, given the concerns I've seen over the last 6 months about fireworks, at times other than the November and New Year's Eve, I just wondered how essential they were to the Christmas night session. I mean, it's obviously it's nice, isn't it, to have them, but it's quite a spectacular event anyway, and it's just the added value you get from that if it's going to cause concerns.
Yeah, I think the concerns we get aren't actually too bad because we've listened to people throughout the years and we give many warnings. We understand that somebody won't like it. My dog, for example, absolutely can't stand it with a passion. Neither can my son. They won't be there on Monday, but he also doesn't like the noise. So we're trying to work with people. I think, I'll feed it onto the committee. I think personally, from a personal point of view, I love the things, but I also understand other people's opinions that we need to take that into account. But I think if you didn't have the fireworks at the end, I think you'd lose something. Actually, but that's my opinion. I think it just finishes it off, but that's personal opinion. But I take your point on board now. I will pass it on to the committee and we'll discuss it. Yeah.
So I haven't got a strong view on fireworks and Sunday, but they
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I can't say too much obviously because I can't, but yeah, for what we get and what we pay is quite reasonable. But our neighbours saying that, our neighbours did a silent fireworks display on fireworks night. And my son sat there through the entire time. They were silent, they were quite funny. All you see is a bit of light and like, okay, is that one over then? So they're good because they help animals, but it feels like a bit of an anticlimax. It's not when you go, I don't know, you go and buy a new car and then someone scratched it, it's like, you've got to, aren't you? That's a bad example, but it's like, if the firework to me doesn't go pop, it's kind of like, no. But I also accept that we have to kind of, try and listen to everyone's opinions and try and, as best you can. You haven't please everybody, it's not possible, but try and listen to opinions. So I will pass it on, not a problem, and see what they say.
Bob, you've got another question?
Yeah, obviously, I don't know if anyone knows, but the VW 3 3/4 Z will be on the 9th I understand on this.
Yeah, they go through Saturday
At
night
4 p.m.
ish.
ish.
Ish. Very ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go down to the lake grounds.
So it's going to be quite a busy period,
It's a
really.
massive busy period, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on Christmas lights, Christmas market? No, okay, let's move on.
So yeah, just actually one thing, bearing in mind the lights do go up on Sunday, so the high street will be absolutely packed. So if you know anyone's driving through, just kind of a bit of consideration. We got a bit of stick last year. We've actually bought some magnets to put on the vans that please be patient. We are Santa's helpers, etc. Because we got hipped and all sorts last year because level. We're trying to be considerate. Mike's got his finger on. We're trying to be considerate with what we do, but just be considerate with us as well, please, because getting a mouthful of abuse isn't particularly appreciated when we've been up since 6 o'clock in the morning doing it.
Understood, yeah. Yes, Mike?
Well, following on from David's question, really, are you going to perhaps give us the cost of the fireworks, Ben?
That's not for me to say, I don't think, really.
I imagine as it is a company putting them on, then they're quite expensive. I mean, do you really feel that it's a relevant cost incurred by the Christmas Light Committee?
I think, again, I don't think it's fair for me to comment. I've kind of abstained. I've not kind of voiced my kind of trying to my impartiality. I think as a councillor, I don't think I should answer it because I could. Yeah, I'm not going to answer it. I think it's not fair.
I think
I will leave it at that.
You know, I think it's a fair question, Mike. It's a question that the lights team need to answer. But you know, they come to us. They look for town council support each year. So it's done and dusted. Maybe it's a question we put to them next year.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Moving on, 4.3 Lake Grounds play area update. Works going on next week, starting Tuesday. Bit of a refit on the roundabout and some work on the swings. The area is going to be closed off for about a week while that work takes place. I understand there is no cost to us. This is all sort of remedial work to be completed by the team that put it in. Any questions, Ben?
Not so much on the Lake Grounds area as such, that's fine. But just a bit of an update for everybody. There's been a bit of damage appear at the skate park in the past 24 hours. Wendy and Paul, obviously you're aware, I've copied you into the emails and the pictures. We've got Maverick, who built it, going down to repair it next week. It looks like somebody has taken some kind of tent peg or something and dug up some of the surface. Not ideal. Certainly not appreciated. About the size of a 50p. It really isn't appreciated. It's incredibly disrespectful to not just us as a council who have funded it, the residents that have funded it, Maverick who built it, and everyone that's fought for this thing. So we will be looking at the CCTV. We know roughly when it happened. We will be checking it.
Just about
to say I was disappointed when I got shared this afternoon is probably an understatement, quite frankly. But I spoke to Maverick straight away and they came back to me within about 10 minutes and they're going out next week to fix it. It's not creating a safety hazard. That the moment we're going to monitor it, I'll go down each day, and if it is, then we'll shut that section off. But if you do know who did it, it's anyone that did it, if anyone's listening, we're going to read these minutes, please let me know. We can then deal with it accordingly.
Like I said, when I responded to your email, I was down at 11 o'clock yesterday, and yeah, there was no sign of any damage. I must admit, I didn't. There are some little bits that are breaking up on the joints.
It's just the joints that have been fixed.
But that one piece that is damaged, which is on a flat area, yeah, there was no sign of it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, that's agenda item 4. Moving on to agenda item 5, public participation relating to the meeting agenda items. Steve, just to let you know, we'll come to your bit when we get into the grants bit. Okay, so members of the public. Well, Mike, that's you. do you have anything you would like to raise as part of public participation?
Ah, right. No, not other than what's already on the agenda.
Thank you.
Well, unless Paul, you took on board the comments I made to you at the last meeting in relation to an agenda item in the future on commemorative benches and the like.
No, we've not moved forward with that one.
But you may.
But we may. It's a topic for discussion next year. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a CM in December? We don't, do we? Or do we? I guess we do.
Yeah, we do,
Changed.
yeah.
Stupid question. Sorry, I've been asleep.
Agenda item 6, minutes of the previous meetings. So members to consider and approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting held on 26th of October as a true record. Obviously, going back to agenda item 1, there is going to be an amendment to the minutes, which would be agenda item. It's at the top. CM 073-10-23, which will be removed. Anybody got any comments or anything they want to raise on the minute? David.
It's a comment really. So at the last meeting, I volunteered to establish a working party concerning glyphosate use. I've emailed Colin Russell about this and haven't had a reply. My sense was at the last meeting there's no point forming a working party unless we have engagement for the North Somerset. So I think probably the best way forward would be to speak to Tim, Roger, or other of the district councillors about how it's done.
Send it to me as well, because I've got the engagement meeting with it on the 12th of December, so I can bring it up there as well. So any questions you just around that bit, I'm chipping in, but any questions around you want to ask North Somerset, so just send them through to me and Wendy, and we will ask the questions. Please.
Okay.
See, it's with
All right, thank you. So signing of these. Yeah, I will. Do we need to do that? We're okay to do that prior to the amendment because we've already made the recommendation.
That's right.
So, recommendation for the chair to sign the minutes as a true record. We have a proposer, Janet, and the seconder. Bob, thank you very much. We now move on to agenda item 7, grant applications, to consider the following community grant applications. This is where I'll step out and I hand over to Ms. Councillor Gull. Right.
Thanks, Paul. So this is a grant application that's considered by the Grants Working Party for £400 to support the Northwestern Know and Support Your Neighbour community project. The funding is to cover the cost of hiring Northwestern Village Hall for 2 hours every month, plus some consumables, and to help the area support lonely and vulnerable residents who together make plans, including crafts, activities and painting. The Grants Committee had no concerns with this and recommended that Community National Committee funded it. So can I have a proposer for...
Sorry.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, yeah, I'd just like to say that I don't really think £400 is enough. I think the Northwestern group will expand rather rapidly. It seems to be doing very well lately. I think the point of ideas and projects will be implemented pretty quickly. And I was just wondering if this could actually be reviewed, say, in 6 months.
I'm sure that would be fine. We can't award them more.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is,
I think we could offer them to come back.
Obviously, if they come back in 6 months, the same we have new arts and crafts formats that we'd like to have extra time for an extra or an additional day.
Okay.
I think that's what may actually materialise.
That's cool. Interesting, in the grant they pointed out that they expect to be self-funding within the period of 12 months, which I think is
Well, actually good, but obviously with the financial situation that the country's in at the moment, you know, that's worrying me, and I think it's great to support such a group.
I think, yeah, you touched on a good kind of point, but I think ultimately if they wanted to come back, they can. Anyone's more than welcome. So obviously the unfortunate thing is for them to do is the grant shut on the 15th of December, I believe it is. So there's literally 3 weeks just. But I think at the same time, obviously they've asked for what they know that it's going to carry them through for the next 12 months. But if they do want to come back, then I think we'd, like any other grant request, we'd consider it on a case-by-case basis. The work they've done in the past 12 months, they've proven it. Yeah. They listened to what we asked for them last time. Once they got themselves up and going, they've done a good job. So,
I mean, obviously being one of the residents of North Wrexham, I'm well aware that there's quite a high percentage of obviously older generation. So I think, you know, once the word gets around, it could be one of the.
So the proposal is support this application and write back to them, I guess, saying we'd be open to for that verification in 6 months. So anyone like to support that challenge? Second proposal. Ben?
Yeah, second. Yeah.
Should we take a vote? Those in favour?
Lovely.
So that's unanimous. Thank you.
We'll put his bag out.
No.
No. Thank you. Thank you, Jane. 7.2, which is the North Somerset LGBT plus forum, grant application for £1,000 for HQ rental increase support request. This went to the grant working party a couple of weeks ago. We reviewed it and we have put it forward to the Community Matters Committee for further discussion and possible recommendation and approval. So, Ben, I see you've got your hand up. You've got
finger, so back my hand, but yeah.
You've got Steve here, right?
Yeah.
So, is your question likely to be directed to Steve?
No.
No.
It's memory about the item.
All right. Okay. So Steve, just in case anybody does have a question they want to raise, if you want to come and sit up at the table, then the microphone can pick you up a bit clearer. Thank you. Good.
I think obviously when we kind of consider, I still have to see you in the poach when you go to prison life, so it's good fun. I think when we kind of considered, we kind of asked them, you know, a few more questions before it kind of came back to us, and you know, if you look at the increases they've had for their building hire, it's extortionate. So, you know, it puts great strains on you as a group, not just you as a group, but, you know, many groups across the whole of the county. We asked you, obviously, you know, have you looked for alternative in Portishead? Yes, you had, but there isn't a suitable alternative. And unfortunately, we're kind of dearer, is number two. I think personally, you know, the work that you do, I see you personally and a few of your colleagues around, the poachers support you fantastically. The work they do is phenomenal for the town. But, you know, you're regularly in there, the work they do, the summer events they did last year, or this year as it was, I believe it's coming back next year. I think is a very worthwhile cause. And I think £1,000 to me it's a complete no-brainer. For the support you do and to help people that get help, that need the help, someone to talk to, or someone that's, say, feeling vulnerable, or whatever, they come to a quiz, and we all know what quizzes do for people. You know, come a little bit quiet, and then all of a sudden you're like, you're having a right laugh, aren't you? And it is a laugh when I've been in the poach a few times. I don't go there very often. Try not to drink very often, apart from but you know. But no, I think it's fantastic. And I think, you know, you deserve a round of applause for kind of what you do, kind of the whole inclusivity, it kind of help support people. So I personally should support it. I just completely no-brainer. It really is.
Very much. It does mean the absolute role to a lot of the that we took on. And it's really nice about the quiz as well. You might notice that the reason why we do a quiz that there's always a fifth round, which is actually an education round. So it's not just a quiz. We actually always put a round in there about LGBT plus history. So that unbeknownst to a lot of people that do the quiz, they actually learn something as well. And kind of we just sneak that in as well. But it actually means that it's a talking point. It actually creates conversations. And primarily that's what we're about. It's about having conversations. We are an LGBT plus charity, but we are community inclusive. If you share the same values and respect us, then we are absolutely on board with what you would like us to do for your community. And that's always been the case since I took the charity over 3 years ago.
Cool. Yeah, obviously in your statement, you're saying that obviously you've approached Lead and what was there,
We have,
and LZ. I'm just wondering if your intention is to look at other towns, obviously along the Western corridor, because obviously it's more our side than the other side of Western.
We've applied for a grant from every town council because as the charity is, we support the entire district, and as such, for the last 3 years, we've self-funded the whole thing. This is the only time that we've actually got to a point where we've gone, right, for us to secure the next 2 years, we need some help. We'd like to ask support from the towns that we've been supporting. We have already received £500 from Clevedon, and I appreciate the fact that they're not essentially functioning, and to actually have that. And to the nth degree that that went to, I actually picked up the phone and spoke to their town clerk and actually said, thank you. Now, manners cost nothing. I will spend hours if I need to write letters to people for the appreciation they show to us. And it really took them by surprise because they've never had a phone call like that. And considering they're not actually really functioning in the crux of the main role, we really weren't expecting anything back. But we've approached every town council. I'm presenting to Weston in a couple of weeks' time as well. I'm also a massive fan of the fact that we are a district focused charity. It's not all about Weston. It's not about being Weston centric. And we were fully aware when I took the charity over that the north part of North Somerset gets left out. And that's the reason why out of all the outreach sessions that we actually do, it's Portishead that actually have the most. So we've got 2 that we do. Plus we also supported the Poacher with their Pride Community Day to actually get that off the ground. And we've also used that, and we credit Portishead Pride as being the model that we're trying to roll out for the rest of the other towns. So we're doing a Clevedon Pride this year, and that's going to be hosted at the Old Inn using the same model as the Poacher. It's a community day to bring people together to a central location, supporting independent businesses all in one place. We're doing the same with Knelsey, and Knelsey Town Council are on board, and we're doing that at the Grove. So again, it's another community-focused organisation, but also it's helping to empower the communities, that it doesn't just have to be Pride in Weston. That's a great event for the district, but there's no reason why the smaller communities, the smaller towns have to miss out. The rural areas of North Somerset, I think, overlooked.
Yeah, obviously, like I was saying earlier on, obviously I'm an ex-Brighton boy myself, and obviously in the centres we saw this evolving, and even obviously there were quite a few riots at the time. And yeah, I think it's a seaside sort of thing. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We should involve the small towns within that main seaside town.
Absolutely. But thank you.
David?
I was just going to say thanks for coming on, Steve, and thanks for all the great work you do. I'm just curious why the rent has gone up by 40%.
I'd love to answer that question. We have a private landlord. And that landlord actually used to be the proprietor of what our HQ used to be. The history of our HQ, we call it an office, but it is a headquarters. It's where we do a lot of our activity. It's our base of operations that's also a help centre. So we actually have what used to be a vape shop. It used to be a vape lounge, and we've converted it into a community lounge. People can come in and actually talk to us now, whereas before we were in a broom cupboard at the top of 3 flights of stairs in a Victorian building. Nobody could see us. Nobody could just approach us. The landlord essentially then put the property on the market and essentially decided to rent it out. And we are, I think, the 4th or 5th tenant for this property. We've invested £11,000 of improvements to actually make it accessible. Within reason, we can't knock walls down in bits and pieces, but what we have been able to do is actually make it so that it can also be used by other community groups. It's not just for our use, we actually offer it out for other community groups to be able to use as a community space. And we do that either at cost, because it costs us £10.49 an hour to run HQ across the year. That's our actual cost base. That's what it will, core costs all covered. And you get use of the whole community space. That's the screens, the internet, free tea and coffee. We put that on because we know the importance of the spaces in this climate, that people have places to go to set things up. Essentially, the landlord's invested nothing in our property at all. He is very much of the opinion that as a charity, we do not pay for bills, and we've had to write to him to actually break down exactly what we pay for, and the fact that if we were a limited company, we'd be better off, but we're not. So we've presented this to the landlord. We've also presented alternative options to him, increasing the rent by 40% and actually do it on a phased increase across 2 years. We say increase it for the first 6 months at 10%, etc., etc., etc. To date, we've had zero response from the landlord or the property management agent that's trying to actually chase him up to actually find out what's happening. So I have to now consider the fact that the high likelihood is this is just going to happen, but I also have to guarantee succession, that I need to be able to plan for the next 2 years. I need to be able to know that the community is going to be supported for the next 2 years. And for the previous 2 years, we've had 1,100 people coming through our doors. So 1,100 people have come into our venue to speak to the team about something, whether it be an inquiry, whether it be help, whether it be getting a leaflet, whether it be getting sexual help advice as well. We're also C-card trained. All of the team there are able to help 13 to 24-year-olds with very sensitive subjects. We've got a rising student population in North Somerset, and they need somewhere to go that maybe isn't the Wish Clinic, etc. We're a lot more than just a building, and certainly a lot more than what we are as a charity, because there's lots of other things and lots of other places that we actually get to and reach to. And even if you see our cars driving around, these are our private vehicles we put mag signs on the side of that promote the charity, because we know the importance of when someone sees that, they know that it's okay, they know that there's a place and a space for them, and if they know they can feel safe. So in answer to your question, I know I've gone a bit around about the houses about it.
You also add that you operate as a warm space.
Yes, it's a public living room.
Yeah.
We've just opened it up again. And last year we also were able to actually hold some of that public living room space back, and we actually had it as a cool space as well. So we actually had bottles of water available and ice lollies.
Can you pay your own energy bills?
And we pay everything.
Sounds like a story for all the local newspapers to take out.
We have written. It goes up. We have all of the local press on all of our mailing lists as well. We make sure that we push as much information out as possible, that people know what we do and why we do it.
But about the rent?
The rent, yeah, that was actually in our last newsletter, and last month's newsletter that went out to, and that goes out to everybody, including the Mercury, the BBC, Radio Bristol, Radio Somerset, and interestingly, I was on Radio Somerset this month just gone, not for that reason, although I did manage to crowbar it in underneath the Carnaby umbrella.
That's the tension you've got to make too much fuss about it. You may lose the tendency, I guess.
There's a real balance there.
Streets must be struggling to attract businesses.
The fact that the real surprise was when the landlord looked at the investment that we put into the property to make it accessible, and he said, "Oh, well, you don't pay for anything, do you?" So where does that come from?
Another point.
How can you substantiate that extortionate claim? I wrote him and gave him a copy of every single bill. So we pay our own electric bill, we pay our water. It still surprises me that we run it at £10.49 an hour, and that is keeping it as a warm space. And everything, we've made adjustments where we can to be as carbon neutral as possible. We've got LED lights, we've got small little low wattage heaters. We do as much as we possibly can. The only thing that I'm regretful of, and it really does pain me, is that if I were to subscribe to a commercial waste contract, it would wipe me out in 3 months. So we actually take bags of rubbish and recycling home in our own cars so that we actually can recycle ourselves. We don't have that. That would completely kill us in 3 months if we did that.
I was just going to say, obviously you're open 4 days a week, if I understand.
Yeah, 4 out of 7 days.
So out of the other 3, would you look into obviously helping the group within the?
Absolutely. There's some support packs I've given out that have information in there about the fact we also push the fact that if you love our HQ, it's available for other groups to use, and we positively encourage it. I've actually been speaking to Mind and Somerset about setting up and them using our neutral space to be able to offer different kind of activities. And it's also previously been used by Nextlink for survivors of domestic abuse and violence, because it's a no attitude and a safe space. It's somewhere where people can feel safe, because we've got our windows are shielded, so people can come in there and just know that they're okay and that they can be part of that. But we've always got a member of our volunteer team on site that's fire safety and first aid trained as well. So there's always somebody on site for someone to know that if they do need some help or attention, that we can provide to them.
Thank you. Ben, I think you have one.
Yeah, we kind of asked the question when you put the grant in, are you sure this is money to get you through this next 2 years? I mean, you've just described in even more detail the challenges you're facing, and with the latest increase in energy prices predicted in January going up 5%, that's putting about another £600, I think it's roughly, is on cost of energy over the year. You know, there was the announcement from the government yesterday, which is they've given you with half a hand, and the other hand and a half are taking it away from you again. So it's not the greatest of budgets, is it? So I'm going to ask the question again. Are you sure this is enough money? We can't do it tonight, raise it up, but you've got 3 weeks. If you need a little bit more help, we want to help you. So have a think about it.
Okay.
And then just come back to Wendy, Paul and Co. If we can help you, we'll help you.
Okay. Would that have to be an additional grant, or would it be an increase?
It would
just be a supplementary request.
it would be a supplementary request.
Following recent costs, and you've reworked it and you need some more.
Well, I have a trustee meeting next Tuesday. Ours takes place on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of every month, so I can put that to the trustees, and I'm very grateful that that's acknowledged. We also acknowledge the fact that we, as a charity, for the last 3 years, we've self-funded, and it's been what powers the trustees. They are entrusted to keep the door open, and it's only now that we've gone, do you know what? There's a lot going on. We're expecting donations to be reduced with the cost of living. There are things that I've done. I've reached out to all of our utility providers to say, is there anything further you can do? SSENG have very kindly put us onto their business support grant, so they're giving us £500 credit on our energy bill. So I've been able to at least try and mitigate, because I appreciate our local councils are also strapped. And I'm not scared to pick up the phone and say, look, can we do better than this? There's got to be something better than this. But we also self-fund with something that we do ourselves. So we actually will try and put effort into our merchandise that the team make. It's all handmade. We don't buy anything in. We make things for the community to be able to acknowledge and say, tangibly, I support what you do. Of the awareness. So we actually published a book. That's actually a book that's got a story in from our secretary about her journey through not accepting her son to the point where she accepted him. And Western Super Lesfic published that book for us free of charge, and they sell the book for us to receive a donation. So we try and make sure that it's not just about, can we have the money? We want to make sure that on the back of that, there is a community return. There has to be a return. So it's never the case where the money just goes into a pot and it gets spent on 400 envelopes. It's the money goes in and you will see a return on it. I acknowledge what you've said, and I will go back to the team and put that forward again. It's a team, it's not just me. We've got 6 trustees, and sadly, due to the cost of living, some of my volunteers have had to take second jobs. They've had to step down. They can't volunteer at the same time.
And it's the volunteers that you also need, isn't it? So,
and it's really important to me.
Really with the list of volunteers you have. More than I mean, I was just checking the US with the LGBT in the US. The support they get compared to what they get in the UK is a massive difference. I mean, Sherlock Home Foundation for the young, Safe Shed for the older people. It's massive compared to obviously the UK and the support in charity, support for your charity. So
one of my biggest surprises is that as North Somerset goes as a district, the fact that they've got the forum in comparison to the fact that Bristol doesn't even have that, and it's a massive city that's second to London, and there isn't an exclusive place where people can go, and it's a really big thing. That fact that actually, do you know what? As North Somerset goes, we've achieved so much for essentially what is predominantly a rural area, and I think that's something that we're celebrating as well.
Okay, all right. Last chance for any questions. Otherwise, we will move to recommendation. You're more than welcome to stay there as well once we do this. So, right, recommendation. to approve £1,000 grant for North Somerset LGBT Plus Forum for the NSLGBT Plus Forum HQ rental increase support request to towns within North. That doesn't read well. It really doesn't read well. Sorry for that. I'll read it again. To approve £1,000 for North Somerset LGBT Plus Forum for the NSLGBT Plus Forum HQ rental increase support request to towns within North Somerset. Can we have a proposal? Ben, and seconder, we've got Janet. Can we have a show of hands in support? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just say, obviously, I was in two minds about this because obviously I haven't got enough information, Steve. Obviously, you know, I'm in Mitchell, and I would have liked to have spoken to him before. But obviously, just the research I've got online, obviously, one step. So yeah, I think I was going to say well done.
Thank you.
No, it does genuinely mean a lot to us.
Thank you for what you do to Portishead as well.
You still do the jumble sales?
We do. We've got our big Christmas one coming up next weekend as well. It's a really big one as well. We've got 4 venues we're doing it over.
And as Ben said, you know, if when you meet with your team, if there is something that, you know, you need urgently, come back to us in the next couple of weeks. We can probably do something with that, or next year. Okay. Please don't feel that this is a one-off thing. You know, you can always come back. Can't guarantee that it will be successful, but we will review it, and we'd be welcome to receive it.
We try to be as fair as possible across the board, because again, we also appreciate the fact that essentially we're all on the same side. We are.
We're all human.
Thank you.
That's the main part.
Thank you very much. Okay, brilliant. And if you need to leave, by all means, you're welcome to stay.
I'm glad to stay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 8, Spring into Wellbeing 2024 proposal for budget request. To consider a proposal for the Spring into Wellbeing 2024 and request for funding budget. Yeah, to support the event. Laura, would you like to just give us an overview, summary of what it is that you're looking for?
So it's a funding request that last year was put in as a community grant request by the Lions. I've asked the Lions to hold off because my feeling is if I can get this approved as a budget for wellbeing, I can, because we've only had the date agreed literally last week. I can apply to other funding avenues, and if that's successful, it will reduce this amount. But if we've got this secured, it means we can go ahead with plumbing for Wellbeing Day. So the overview for the day is, and Steve took part earlier this year. So earlier this year, we had a Wellbeing Day, which had 21 from the Portishead Wellbeing Partners had stands and information. And we want to extend that offering. So it's in collaboration with the Beacon Hub and with the Portishead Lions, because previously the Portishead Lions have done health screen tests, previously prostate, and there's some stats at the bottom of the proposal, where in the last test day, 249 men were tested and 17 men had positive tests and were advised to seek further medical intervention, and so therefore went back to their GPs and had further tests. So they're seen as quite life-saving tests. So we've come together in partnership to extend the Wellbeing Day so that we have health screening at one end of North Somerset Hall, which means that all the people that book in will be taken on a nice one-way route to a testing site, so that they have to talk to all our wellbeing partners so that we have a lot of foot traffic for the information stands. We also want to expand it by having more bookable workshops, growing on the experience we've had with the public health workshops, so that we've got an offering of breakout workshops and groups, which we will send that invitation out to the wellbeing partners. So it will be a much bigger event across the Poacher, the Beacon Hub, Somerset Hall, and also the Folk Hall for breakout groups and workshops. But we also don't want to limit the tests to just men. So the Lions have extended that to include liver tests, kidney tests, cholesterol tests, iron, prostate,
Thyroid,
and thyroid. Thank you,
and
Ben.
liver function.
Yeah. So that's the proposal in a nutshell. The Lions have 1,500 towards it, and Somerset Prostate Support Association have 1,500 towards it, which leaves us 5,000 short. I have not had time to apply for additional funding yet, as we have only just secured the space.
So just a quick question, if I may. So the Portishead Lions Club, they've already got the 1,500.
They would have that.
Because normally they approach us.
So they would normally approach, they normally have some money, and then they come for a community grant for their deficit.
Okay.
So I said, can we hold fire on that? Because I may be able to find additional sources of funding through public health funding and other places, but I haven't had time to do that yet. But if we don't know that the budget can be there, we can't really go ahead with the planning. And then because we want to do it in March, it slows things down.
Okay. So do you know how much it is you're looking for?
£5,000.
Looking for all of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Will you give some of it back if you get other funding?
So because if it's a budget, if I don't spend that budget, it just goes back into the town council coffers.
Right.
Rather than if the Lions come forward and apply for it as a grant, they will not look elsewhere because then they've secured the funding.
Yeah.
How much do the Lions normally apply for?
Ben, I think it's
2.5, 2,500.
isn't it?
This will be the third year in theory, third request, I think, from memory. It was 2.5 last year and 2.5 year before, from memory, I think it was.
So in fact, what Laura is asking for is only £2,500 extra from what the Lions would actually apply for.
Normally apply for.
So normally, yeah.
And we would have to assume that you know, it would probably be higher this year than it was previous year.
They've had to turn people away for the last 2 years.
So I would probably have to sort of say you would expect them to, if the Lions were running it to ask for another 500.
So probably 3,000. So we have £2,000 for what the extra stuff that Laura's promoting.
And it doesn't limit. So if residents, sorry.
No, it's fine. Go on.
It doesn't limit the test. So it's only one test that's subsidised. So everyone will get one subsidised test. So if you're male and you want to have your prostate checked, you get a prostate test. If you're also concerned about your cholesterol in your liver, you can book that because they take one vial of blood. It doesn't take any longer, but that resident will have to pay at cost £28 per additional test. So the offering for Portishead residents is that you will get one fully subsidised test, but you could have up to 6. Although some are men, some are women. If you're a female, you may not want your prostate tested.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
Not having one.
So I think Ben's got his hand up, and then David.
And then me.
Yeah, I think, you know, I got a chat to Paul about this one.
Yes, Mike.
I kind of wasn't totally sure. I am, to be clear, I'm supportive of it. We've supported it for the past 2 years. I think we should support it again. I think it's a complete no-brainer again. It's really a bit like you guys. But now you've explained the way the fund is working, that they're not just asking for it, they're not going to do nothing. They're going to try and source it if you can. I think we should support it. The bit that kind of sticks in my throat, and this is relating back to your guys' comment, is the whole hire again. What? Why? And I'm saying why. I've said this for many, many months now. I don't think certain groups, as a town council, we should be charging whole hire. Now, I know there's the other side of it. Well, where do you draw the line on fairness? And I get that, but you are providing a service for the residents of this town. I think, personally, the phone call should be given as free, and I think the Somerset Hall should be given as free. Because it's a sizable chunk of money where actually that £300 best parts up could provide another couple of tests.
There is, so when you just remind me, there is next month a agenda item on hall hire on that very subject. So that's very interesting.
So my question is then, I'm not really preempting anyone's discussion and decision, but I would like to see the folk whole hire struck off as part of this award.
The situation.
And I would also like to see a conversation had with North Somerset Council to consider striking that whole hire off as well. I think it's the wrong thing to do. That provide more tests for more people, more benefit. And I think we should support the grant. I really do, because it's an everything.
So can I respond?
Yeah.
Just because, so for our hall, it's kind of moving numbers from one column to the other. And then back again.
Into a different column.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for Somerset Hall, obviously, I don't have jurisdiction to say it wouldn't be charged for. As a town council, we get 2 free hires a year. They've been used up because it's in early March. It falls in this financial year. So I have no authority to secure an additional rent-free usage. And their argument, because I have asked that question, is it's a Saturday and then they are losing income on another potential hire, because we were really restricted on dates that were available to get it, but it doesn't work to hold this on a day other than a Saturday. So that's it. Yeah, it's a question that I can take up again with North Somerset, but the thing is I sort of need the budget to hold it and progress with the project. And then whether, especially for our hall hire, that's just column moving, but for North Somerset, that's a bigger question.
I say I think we should approve the budget and it was within it, but I will take it up for you.
And I have addressed it with policies and partnership.
I will take it up and we'll add it to the engagement day agenda. This one's getting a long agenda. I don't know it works. It's got that. We'll do that another day. This is about this item now, but I will take it up for you on your behalf. So, yeah.
Also applied. I've started asking questions to get funding directly from North Somerset because it's public health.
Yeah.
And just to confirm, when we were looking at it, if the budget goes forward, it's you that's going to look for this additional. It's you as opposed to, it's not the Lions or anything. It's,
well, we have a verbal memorandum of understanding with the Lions because for some funds as a town council we cannot apply, in which case they will apply. But where there are funds where as a town council we can apply, then I'm happy to take the lead. So it's more just there are some funds where it's not applicable, and
David, and then Mike, I'll come to you in a second.
So I'm going to completely disagree. As an excellent health professional, first of all, I thought the last wellbeing day was fantastic. It was great. It was hugely well attended, and I think the only downside for me was that it also that hall didn't work terribly well. So I guess the question to think about is how you're going to make that more accessible. But for me, the challenge is that so much of this budget is going on blood testing, testing of PSA, thyroid function, liver function, kidney function, iron and cholesterol, essentially healthy people. So this is screening healthy people. And whilst these sorts of screening programs are incredibly popular with the public, there's no doubt about it, they're popular things to do. And they're done by some insurance companies at cost. Routinely screening healthy individuals in this way isn't supported by good quality evidence of overall population benefit. There's a national screening program, an NHS national screening program that recommends certain diseases to screen for and ways to screen for them: breast cancer screening, cervical cancer screening, screening for newborn, and so forth. And these tests are all part of that recommended program. So I think we'd be going against NHS advice by supporting council money. It's a kind of seems counterintuitive to me to be doing that. And I know PSA screening in particular is becoming widespread, but there's also potential for harm as well as benefit from screening. And I'd certainly recommend before people have these tests and got test results that may really worry them, they speak to their GPs. And I know it's tough to get to see a GP, but I think as a town council, this is NHS territory, and we need to be really careful about treading onto it. Yeah, I think perhaps if we offered the sort of things that pharmacies offer, and it was done by a health professional, like blood pressure screening, that would work for me. Cholesterol screening that you can walk into a pharmacy and get. But I think for some of these tests, it's going to, without the buy-in of all the local GPs, we may get worried people coming to them, or they will get worried and come on the test. We're treading in a really difficult area. So for me, in contrast to Ben, I'd support the money that wasn't on the tests.
Can I just quickly come in just before you, Laura? Sorry, I'm not cutting you off, sorry about that. I get your point, David. I think this is a multi-pronged attack. This is a problem. ultimately this request for money is for prostate testing. That is what they're asking the money for. And obviously then to run the other bits around it, which help the other bits of tests. If you want them, you have to pay. I take your point about the NHS should be picking it up. The problem is this government's running into the ground. I, for example, asked for a test from my doctor, and it's a really important one regarding bowel cancer. We have to have it every 5 years. I'm overdue because of COVID. And I was referred through to the hospital. Took them about 3 months to get back to me. I got a response from them. Please click on this link to book your test if you want it. I clicked on the link didn't work. I clicked on the link again the next day, the link didn't work. I called the number, they said, if you have any problems, guess what? The number doesn't answer. It rung off and it rung off and it rung off. I am still waiting to this day, bearing in mind this happened in the summer, for a response to get a test that's pretty urgent for me and my family, or me and my 2 siblings, because we have to have it every 5 years. This kind of touches a bit of a core with me a little bit. I get your point. I do get your point. I'm not totally disagreeing with you, but I think if we don't do this, nobody else is going to do it. The benefit that it's given for the past couple of years as council, we've supported it. I know we're treading on more people's toes a bit, but we've proven the benefit it gives. I just think we have to continue supporting it. Because if we don't support it, the system isn't there. The system's on its knees. It's
right. Thank you. There are lots of other hands up, so we need to get around this. So, David, I'll come back to you in a minute.
Can I just answer your comment a little bit directly? So with the Portishead Wellbeing Partnership, the 2 GP surgeries are part of that partnership, as are the Lions. So they are aware of the previous testing that's taken place in the town, and they're always notified previous to these taking place that there is prostate testing happening, and to be aware that there may be an increase in appointments around the area. So they are in the loop. And also, one of the primary aims of the Wellbeing Partnership is to alleviate statutory services that are overwhelmed, but they are in the loop. And one of the other partners that comes to the Wellbeing Partnership is the Woodspring Locality Lead, who sits on the ICB. So all the information does filter through. So it's not done entirely in isolation to NHS. Whilst it might not fit with all the guidelines, and I totally respect their expertise in that area, there's a creative way around some of the challenges that are spent highlights we do face after 13 years of asset flipping.
But it's true.
Right, we'll just do a couple more because we need to be conscious. Yeah. Mike, you had your hand up earlier.
Well, yes. I mean, David's very professional guidance on his comments in relation to the testing. It was I wanted to ask about that. I mean, the 250 booked ones are complimentary, and is there a request for perhaps a donation towards that? And then the other 6 tests, they're all charged, are they? Someone mentioned £28 per test.
Yeah. So the complimentary test is 1 test
for the bloods
out of 6. I guess you can choose whichever one. Yeah. And then any other tests that you request, you will be asked to pay for.
Oh, so the complimentary choice is one of those 6.
One of those 6. Yeah.
I see. Right. And what about the thought of making a small charge towards any tests? It seems to, as David pointed out, I mean, if you go and get a private PSA test, they're pretty expensive, whereas this is going to be free for people. I mean, even a £5 nominal charge might be helpful towards the cost. I mean, I appreciate and I accept this, and I support the grant application, but I was just wondering about, a small donation or a charge in relation to some of these otherwise expensive tests.
Very quick, we can't get many to doctors as it is. This is a way of getting a guy to get a test, because I'll say it, as guys, we're arrogant. We're all right, we don't need a painkiller, we're all right, we'll keep going until literally boom. Yeah. So this is helping people, and it did last year. Yeah.
Well,
Janet?
It's helped 17 people last year. It helped 17 people last time who may not have known, and it might have saved one of their lives.
I don't want to get technical, but there have been randomised controlled trials and screening. and the randomised control trials show no evidence of benefit. So I just think we need to tread very carefully. And at the end it'll come to a vote, won't it? And I won't support this, but I respect others' contrary views. I think we just need to, if you go forward with it, you need to make sure, and it's great that you're always in contact with local chief police and they're on board. Just need to make sure there are really clear pathways, because sometimes people could, just to rehearse some of the arguments, people could be reassured by having a normal prostate test and have very rapidly, having had it 6 months ago, have rapidly progressing prostate cancer and not go to their GP because they've already been reassured they've had a normal test quite recently. That's the sort of thing that might happen. Other people might have it detected and have operations for it, but they might not need, because understanding of best treatments and sort of natural issues isn't clear. But yeah, I won't say any more about that. That's my own professional view.
Can I finish? I understand where you're coming from. I think the thing is, it's going to happen anyway, because the Lions always do it. So I think that one of the things about the wellbeing days is reputational for the council, and that is another thing that may be debatable though. But looking at the wellbeing day overall, where the number of people that come in and an exhibit and talk to people, and the contact that people have with a lot of different organisations is fundamental to our wellbeing project. And it's without putting the Lions thing to one side, because I get where you're coming from. But even if we took the Lions out of it, this is reputational for our council, and it's a big showcase for the work that we're doing in wellbeing for our council. We have to support it. Last time Laura did it without any budget at all, and that's not right. You can't run a big showcase event without a budget. So the extra bits of budget, not talking about the other prostate thing, as essential if we're going to run this project at all. And last time, without a budget, it was very difficult for Laura indeed. And I will support her every time for the work that she's put into this already is enormous. And if we can't support this, then I think I'll go home.
Just to say, I completely support other elements of the budget.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from, and that's what I'm saying. I understand that, but all of us, I think, should support this.
Right, so I think that
apart from your issues.
So I think everybody's had a chance to have their say. I think we need to put this to, as David, you said, it comes down to a vote at the end of the day. So
that's the coal fund, isn't it? Anyway, that's the coal fund, isn't it? It's not the normal grant fund, is it? The coal one. Cost of living.
Would it come out?
It's it's well-being, isn't it?
It would have to come.
So it comes out naturally. It sits in that pocket.
Yeah. Okay, so the recommendation is to approve funding budget. Sorry, have you got something to say?
No, I was just
okay.
Put my hand. I all I can say is I've had bloods this week. I've had a scan this week. It took me 4 weeks to see a doctor. I couldn't see it. I ended up ringing 101, and this is the situation. I can't support this enough. And that's all I can say.
Can I just have one comment?
Yeah.
I'd really love to engage your expertise in terms of the promotion and literature around the tests. If you would be happy to work with us, regardless of where the vote goes and how happy you feel about it, to make the best of the situation.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think so. Well, let's see how the vote goes.
Yeah.
So recommendation to approve funding budget for the Spring into Wellbeing 2024. Can we have a proposal? We've got a proposer. So we've got Bob proposing, we've got Janet seconding, and then can we put it out to a vote? All in favour?
5-4.
Yeah.
Abstaining or
David,
against?
abstaining or
No,
against?
I was against it.
Okay,
David's
thank you.
voting against. Okay. Right.
We have some quite hard discussions, don't we?
I'm remaining as completely quiet because the last trustee meeting I had to call an adjournment because otherwise it was going to come to blows. So this to me actually is a really calm one for me.
Oh. Hang in there.
I was going to say there's still more on the agenda, but no, you're right.
We talk like grown-ups in this group. Actually, it's really nice because everybody respects everybody's point of view and listens, and it's wonderful. So behave yourselves, everybody.
Bear your last comment in mind. Agenda item 9, project management process. So we have been working in the background. The clerk Wendy asked the officer, the project manager, to pull together a process to help support the council with events, projects, etc. And this was looked at a few years ago, but never really got anywhere. But we feel I'm a strong believer in this that we need something in to allow us to put some control around projects, and projects is a broad, so it's events and project activity that we do. The concern that Wendy has at the moment is that we don't have a standard way of delivering an event or a project. Now, and I know all these projects and events, they're all different, they've all got their own sort of identities, etc., and deliverables. But it's not about the actual event, it's about the process you go through, about pulling together that event into a formal process. And we don't have that standard method of delivering any piece of work at the moment. And because of that, that then pushes a lot of challenges and frustrations into the day-to-day operations. Now, that comes down to labor resources, both from an officer point of view, officer time, and also from a finance point of view. And what we find is that as we go through some of these events, things are coming out from, you know, behind the curtain, from under the carpet, that we weren't aware of. That then mean we have to put additional resource time, put additional money. We have to make snap decisions to get to the point where we deliver this event or this project over. By putting in a standard process, what this does is it takes a lot out of it. It takes a lot of risk of it away. It allows us visibility. It allows us control. It allows us to make decisions at each of the key points. And so each of you have got a process flow in front of you. There are documents that support this process. Okay, they are quite heavy documents because this process needs to be scalable. So it needs to be able to manage a very small event up to a very big project. So the documentation has to be able to cope with the large end of that scale as well. So what we've tried to sort of capture within this flow is the key points, the key checkpoints as you go through a process. From the initiation, from whoever the officer is who's pulling together the project, the event, making sure that they've got everything they need for us to move forward with, a project working group that will review that to make sure that we are happy with it before it goes forward. And we've already pulled together a team of people that would sit on that project working group to analyse that. So we have identified John with his finance head on, Mike with a planning head on, because some of these projects will have a planning element to them. Emma, who lives and breathes project management day in, day out, and myself. So it would sit as a group that would review at that first gate to say, have we got everything we need to proceed to next step? And then there would be follow-on checks, whether those would be at community matters or full council, depending on the value, the complexity, etc. Wendy, I know you wanted to possibly say a couple of words on this as well, because I know you were one of the key drivers. Anything you wanted to add to that before we open it up to questions?
I think just from my point of view of managing the organisation behind the scenes, for me, it's really important that we do have formal processes that we follow. We've got so many things that we have to tick the box with behind the scenes. For instance, we've got all the audit things that we have to comply with. We're always, and fundamentally, we are funded by public monies. We have to be accountable for those public monies. Having a process in place that all of us as an organisation, as a team, if we are following one process to deliver all of the projects, all of the ideas that we have, although this might seem a massive, massive thing to start off with, once we get our heads around it, once we get into the routine of doing it, it's going to be a lot easier, and they will all feed into each other. And the idea is that at the end of, say, if we put on an event or we're running something in the hall, at the end of that project, we've almost got a book or a manual that we can hand on to somebody else should we get hit by a bus. It means that anybody can come in and pick it up. As a clerk who's only been here for a year, my biggest problem has been trying to figure out where things have come from, how the things have been agreed, and where I am with the budget. You know, no disrespect to anybody, but it's a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy problem that we have to work our way through. And this is why I asked the project manager to go away and come up with a bespoke process for this town council so that we can all be singing from the same song sheet and we can make sure we are as transparent to the public as possible. And this is what we're coming up with. I don't think it's a finished article. I'd really like everybody's input and ideas with this, and anything that we can do to make it easier, make it more fluid, please shout. We're going around, we're talking to each of members of staff as well at the moment, bringing in all their different processes that they've already got. So we're bolting everything together. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we're trying to make sure that it's all in one place. And that's what this is for.
And that's a really key point there, Wendy, that this isn't the finished art, okay? But anybody that works in project management knows that you never really have a finished article. You are constantly doing that review again, and we will always learn, and we will always update this type of document, this type of process. So really, what we're looking for today is agreement to move forward with this, to allow the council to implement this as a standard way moving forward, on the understanding that it isn't the finished article, but it's as close as we can get to at this moment in time, and then we work closely with the officers, the people that are putting in applications, the councillors, the lessons learned as we go through each project, and feedback in
to improve it. Don't know that. Questions? Nothing. Oh, yes, there are. Bob.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, obviously, if we're going to use this format or use this as a start format, over the net, obviously, when it's used, is there a way that we can have some sort of added on? I'm not great with words. Sorry. So basically, you've got an example here that you could create on a project that we could pass around the councillors and show, and then we can feedback any issues that we may feel that needs to be changed or maybe improved or.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, we've done it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the way through this.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
Testing it.
we have a project, like a testing project out, and it comes back to us,
Yeah.
and then we can see if it's working, and we understand it, and we're happy with it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So every one of these every project that goes through this will have a lesson learned at the end. Will go through full council and community matters. It will have all those checkpoints in it, and we will learn each of those.
Well, yeah, because if that's happening, then we're learning as well. I'm not obviously that's well versed in this sort of thing, but yeah, I'm if I can understand it, I'm really happy to.
Can I just to say we've actually already done that.
I think.
Yeah. With doing this, we realised we needed the project to test it on. So we tested it on the poor Royal British Legion parade that we had last weekend. And it was actually a really, really useful exercise because it's helped us identify that there were issues and things that needed dealing with, and we were able to deal with them and get them sorted before the parade went ahead, so that the parade went ahead smoothly. The positive that came out of it was the process worked extremely well with taking something on literally at the last minute, because we decided to do it at the last minute. And the lessons learnt from it have been incredibly positive, because we are putting together, again, as I suggested earlier, a pack which we can hand over to any other organisers who decide to put on the parade in the future, which will give them the heads up of what they've got to do to put that parade on. So the process itself worked really, really well for the parade. And yeah, that was a relatively small event that was being done, and we'd already done it before previously. So running it through and making sure it worked was a very useful exercise. Yeah.
David, I think you raise your hand up.
Yeah, I can absolutely see the need for project management, and as I said last time, for big projects. My concern with this is just over bureaucratizing the small pieces of work, really, and it's about scale. You know, I think big organisations with multi-million-pound budgets and projects that cost hundreds of thousands absolutely need project managers. No question about it. And we've talked about having a project manager for the work around the focal. My concern with this is just about getting the scale right. I mean, for example, Women's Day Parade, lessons learned, great. So the job done. Hopefully we won't have to go through the whole process again next year. Hopefully that's kind of sorted. Because there's a real danger, I think, for a small organisation to keep nimble, to just not get bogged down in too much detail and use too many people's time up by filling out forms, ticking boxes, arranging meetings. I think so. My sense is there should be a kind of financial cut point. Maybe £100,000 for a project, so something like the skate park. Or there should be a number of staff involved cut point. So we can just say, look, here we've got a big project happening. We need to go down the project management route. Because for a £10,000 piece of work, for those few people, You can imagine spending more time in meetings and costing you more just having the meetings to service this.
The operate was, I agree. I mean, we delivered the skate park without a project plan. We know what we're doing, we delivered it, and I think it's been built now.
Yes.
I tend to somewhat agree really, I guess, with what David said. I think we definitely need horses for courses in terms of what it is that we've got. There's a number of things, certainly with the Prince 2 methodology, which is, you know, very heavy. And I think that would, not a lot would necessitate a full Prince 2 sort of layout in that sense. I think we also possibly need to look at some of the more now collaborative project management software options that are out there, and not necessarily Microsoft Project, because that can again make things a lot more clunky, a lot more hard, and a lot less engaging for people to be able to input into as well, therefore disseminating the type of resource that we need, and not overly, you know, reliant on the officer for a lot of documentation for things that need to be, as you said, as nimble as possible and expedient as possible as well. So yeah, but this is the process that we've got to start off with, and I think we should look at how we can kind of adapt it to different project size, scale, scope, and kind of go from there.
Absolutely, I think, and I get the points around, you know, we need to look at it from a financial point of view. We also need to look at it from understanding the potential risks to the council, because there can be a huge amount of risk around a very low value project.
Yeah.
So you need to have a view, and that's in the initial stage where you pull together the overview of the project, and so that's fundamental to then determine what the next steps are, what's needed for the next steps.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely great. We've got something to start from. As I said, I think we just need to, you know, until it settles into everybody's normal, you know, way of engagement in that sense, that we kind of keep it under review and make sure it's fit for purpose.
Yep.
Shall I explain about the beginning part?
By all means.
Nice.
Okay, so from my point of view as the clerk of the council, the first thing I have to do is to make sure that anything that we're doing, we are operating within our legal boundaries. So what we have done for this process is we've created, if you like, a list of questions that that's the very first thing that we start with. We go through this list of questions, any size of project, and it's literally yes, no answers. By the time we've finished doing that, which takes us about 5 minutes, we've either got a tiny little project which we can carry on and do no problem, or it's giving us a structure for a slightly larger project and process that we've got to carry out. So we're doing exactly that. We're making sure that the project process is scalable to the size of the task we need to carry out. And we're absolutely conscious of that, because we're all short of time, we're all short of resources. We need to make sure that we are as focused as we possibly can be for the tasks that we've got. So that's exactly what we've got built in here. These first few stages are exactly that. It's scaling it up or down dependent upon the tasks that we've got to carry out. And are we legally compliant? Have we got the power to actually carry out that task?
Mike's first.
Mike.
Yes, thank you. Fully support these proposals, and thank you for inviting me to join the core group. Just really related to the expertise of other councillors, that they could be pulled in according to whichever project it was being discussed, and the relevant sort of experience that they would have in relation to particular projects that were coming forward. So, and as Wendy's saying, the process would then kind of proceed from there, wouldn't it?
Indeed. Yeah. Good point. Thanks, mate. Janet?
Just very quickly, so basically, Wendy, what you're saying is stage one is a tick list.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yes. Yeah.
And then the output from that tick list, which takes 5 minutes, will determine what how complex the rest of the process is.
And I based on have a file with the first tick list in there, and it's a reprintable thing for everything, so you don't have to redo it each time.
Exactly it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And the idea
I get that, but I don't get that.
No, that's fine. That's literally it's just a flow to say you do A, B, C, D, but that's everything.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't need. Project. You wouldn't need for the vast majority.
Yeah, but I really don't understand that. But I'm sure that that's meat and drink to you.
And the idea being that you put the Remembrance Day Parade this year, you put it on, you do this process for it. Next year, it's a pull off the shelf, repeat.
Build a library.
Yeah. And then you adjust.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
And obviously adjust if any regulations or rules come in.
Exactly. You got it.
Sorry, Dave, yes?
Yeah, great answers. Sounds like it's worth a try. I'm left wondering why because it was done before, so it happened a couple of years ago, and it stopped. So I would imagine that it probably ran aground for bureaucratic reasons and became some burdens. When completely agree, we need to make sure you do things right and legally. But it's about balance, isn't it? And so please carefully monitor the time that the officers are spending on filling out paperwork to do this process and make sure it's all proportionate. Because as Wendy says, everyone's short of time. And if something's taking up so much time, something to the benefit of our population could have been done in that time usefully, then that would be a real shame. And I guess some of the risks are just unpredictable. However much we plan, we can't predict what might go wrong. We have to acknowledge that. But for sure, see how it goes. But I'll be cautious first.
Okay. So there's not really a recommendation on this one, other than if we can just have a show of hands of who's in support of us putting this forward as a piece of work that we're gonna use. It's going to continue to be a trial for a period of time because you have to gather data on it, but we would like to implement it pretty soon.
Sorry, can I just interrupt one last one? Can someone define a project to me? What is a project? Because Remembrance Day is an event, isn't it? To be careful. So we need to be clear about what gets through the gateway and has to go through this process.
Yeah, and that's all part of the tick list at the start. So it will determine, because events are in there.
Yeah.
Projects are in there.
I think the word project is an all-encompassing word for this, because we're intending that this is for any piece of work that is going to need time, resources, and public money spent on it. That's how I would define it. And that scoping exercise at the very start of it will define whether it's an event, whether it's a project. It's incorporated into that. We're calling it a project process for simply a term to call it.
The name of it can change. But, that's not it. It's about, and Wendy's absolutely right. It's about anything that requires resources, money, time and effort to deliver. It's understanding that we're going into that with an understanding as to what risks are identifiable. Are we happy to proceed with a risk in place, or do we need to do something to mitigate that risk? It's having the visibility. But like I said, it's not really a recommendation. It's a proposal to just to implement this. Moving forward, we know it's going to change. we know it's going to develop as we gather more information, but we have to start at some point. We have to say, okay, as from today, or as from next week, or as from next month, we are going to implement this and start gathering that data and learn from it to make the process better. Or, as David pointed out, it may be that we find out that it's too cumbersome, too dragged down in red tape, that we say, okay, we draw a line under it. But
perhaps we can review it in 6 months. Just see how it's going. See how much time it's taking.
Okay, so can we just have a quick show of hands for those who are in agreement to move this one through to start using it? Staying in, or
I'm abstaining because I think we're making it too complicated.
okay,
Abstain.
okay. Yeah, thank you. Item 10, less controversial one. Item 10, communication strategy draft. Everybody should have it.
Yeah.
It should have come out in the pack. For those of you, for those councillors who have been around a while, but Bob and Ben and Janet and myself, you will recognise this. You will recognise a lot of it. Okay, it is a communication strategy document that was produced by the name's gone out. What's the name of the company?
Oh, it's on there. Yeah,
Breakthrough Communication.
Breakthrough, yes, Breakthrough Communication. So they produced this for us a while back. So what's happened with this is we've picked up that old strategy document. We've revisited it, made a few updates in there, made a few changes to bring it up to what we have here and now today. And the request is that we put some time in, we review it, we feedback, comments on it. So if everybody is happy to take this away and spend some time looking at it and feeding back, please comment. Yes.
Yeah, I've got one. We kind of previously mentioned it. I think this has got a massive amount of crossover with the other thread of work that we're doing in the working group with engagement. I don't think we can look at the communication until we've understood better the engagement.
Okay.
So I think that we either need to merge the projects or whatever we want to call it, or indeed make sure that we're aligned, because we've got different people working on engagement and we have working on communication.
We have nobody working on this at the moment. Okay, this is a document that's been sat in a file, and has been pulled out, and I think this needs to sit with that working group, and form part of what it is that you're doing, and you then, as part of that working group, you look at this and you update it.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any chance I could join that working group?
Yeah,
because communications is a big thing about what I do.
Yeah, it just needs to be. We need to wrap it all up together, because if we're not engaging properly, then we can't communicate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think we need to pull them both together, I think, and the other thing, although it mentions very briefly printed matter, what we've got here is predominantly around digital, and that doesn't cover anywhere near what we need to be looking at.
And that's the whole point, that this needs to be pulled out, it needs to be part of that review.
Yeah.
So we end up with a communication.
It's cohesive.
Yes.
But it's right, but yeah, we need a strategy that is encompassing of both, proper engagement and communication.
Yeah. David?
Yeah, on a really good point. So what do we do with our comments on 2020?
I would, if I was you, I would feed them into the working group. I think they're part of the working group. No,
it's Roger, isn't it? And
yeah.
So I would feed it into the working group.
Yes, I'd like to join that working group because I think I've got quite a lot to offer.
So,
Yeah, I think we just need to refresh whatever engagement, whatever councillor sort of forum that we need to put up. But yeah, we need to, and it's important to have, obviously, from a district point of view, to make sure that we've got that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would when you review this, comments on it, feed it into the working group. Emma, you'd like happy to be the lead on that one?
Yeah, that's fine. So I'll confirm who I am aware of that is part of the working group, which was agreed in full council last month, and yeah, Claude joined.
Amy.
Of course, yeah.
And
Yeah, copying me in.
yeah,
Yeah.
can copy Wendy in on
Yeah, thank
it.
you.
You may or may not be aware, I'm meeting with Amy regularly. It's not around this, it's not around the engagement piece that you're working on. It's very much around what we do here and now, you know, what leaflets we put out. What you're working on is very much the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working with her just the picture has changed quite drastically recently. When this council came in, prior to this council being in place, the previous council were very, very hands-on and quite prescriptive in what they were asking officers to do. Then hopefully we've talked about this, so I'm sure we're in agreement. We're much more of, we have a communications manager, so let the communication manager manage the communication. We just need to feed in the information that we need communicated to them. Ben.
Yeah, I think on to John Paul's point, we spoke about this earlier on this afternoon, ironically, for a 5-minute call that turned into an hour. But yeah, always does. But I think we want to empower the officers. You have officers in a position because they're the experts. That's what you pay the people for, to be in the positions, isn't it? Whether they're officers or any walk of life, you employ somebody to be an expert. So we need to feel that they're empowered. They know their job. We will support them. We will back them. If they need some tools, if they're short of tools, they come to us and say, right, we're short of this. Can you support us on this? And generally we'll say yes. We might have some questions on it, obviously, because you're not experts in everything. But if we can support the officers and give them the tools that they need or whatever, then we will do it. And going on to Paul's point, as councillors, we will set the strategy in collaboration with the officers, which we started in August and we're going to continue in the early new year. We all agree the strategy because ultimately, you know, we're elected or de-elected by what we achieve or don't achieve throughout that 4-year period. You know, so the officers have to feel empowered and feel supported, and that's what we're trying to do. But we're not going to be a parrot sat on someone's shoulder telling them. If they need something, they come to us. We'll ask them how they are. We'll touch base with them, etc. We'll support them, continue to support them. But if there's tools, say your computer's starting to slow down and it's beyond repair, then we'll look at a new computer. If you need to access a portal to go and do something to be more collaborative with the community, then we'll look at it and see what the cost is, the cost to impact and the cost benefit, and we'll look at it. So this is about supporting people, and that's Paul and I are doing this very differently. And this is a path that we're going down. You know, David's done some wonderful work recently on the putting together the facts and figures for the budget we're currently in the process of discussing. John's done some amazing work in collaboration with Wendy and Rachel on all the facts and figures. You know, it's not about one or two doing it. There's 14 of us, well then it's only 13 of us, but there will be 14 of us soon, again, hopefully, and it's about sharing the love. We are one team ultimately. Yes, the officers are sat in here, we're sat at home or wherever we are, but actually we are one team, and it's how do we support each other to ultimately, as councillors, to deliver for this community, because that's what we were elected to do. And you know, we have to listen to everybody. Everyone's opinions count. It's important.
It is, yes. Amy is asking for a counsellor to help her
we go that's possible. So it fits in absolutely with what you guys are doing, part of that working group.
Yeah.
So are you happy to liaise into Amy? Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, wellbeing update report. Thanks, Laura. We do like this shorter, more punchy report. It helps immensely. So thank you for that. There are a couple of key pieces in here. As you're here, do you wanna?
First thing, seeing as Steve is at the table, can we go to the very, very last item, any other business, diversity training? I did send everybody out a doodle poll and I haven't had any official responses. One by David, who wasn't able to access the doodle poll. Thank you for responding.
David,
So other than that, I've been entirely ignored.
I apologise, I don't know whether I've seen it genuinely.
I've sent it 3 times.
Laurie, when it goes to the councillor, all councillors email.
Yeah.
Something for my inbox, and it goes right down to the bottom. So I've taken of the kind of different boxes.
Chorus. Oh, we love chorus.
It's the groups.
No.
Well,
It was addressed at full council and then it came back to say, can I set some dates? And then you're deciding one of those dates. So I've sent some doodle polls over. So under any other business on the report, there are the 2 dates. But if you could forward this to full council and circulate this around all the councils and come back to me, because Steve and also Sari Stand Against Racism and Inequality are offering their time. So I sort of need to schedule that in with them. It would just be 2 hours. They'll come together and offer a bit of diversity and inclusion training, talk about their organisations. And I know with Sari particularly, they would quite like to have, I'm going to use the wrong terminology here, but they like to have sort of, oh goodness, what's the word? Someone within a community that if somebody is struggling with racism or inequality, that can spearhead their values, someone to term without having a champion. Thank you. So I think it would be really valuable, particularly as a reasonably new council, and I'd also, once the date set, like to extend the invitation to the officers, but I want you guys to let me know what dates you are happy with so I can open that out.
Yeah, it's currently being delivered to the group's email and not our individual ones, which is the problem. When did we add on one of the with PAG, wasn't it? Yeah. That's right.
I think that's a Microsoft issue though, isn't it? Because I'm having a massive issue with it to work at the moment. Like emails just disappearing. It's like I've emailed you. And it's not anyway, it's like gone.
So John said this morning, he said emails, I touch something and the email disappears.
Yes, I don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah,
at the moment I've got no emails on my phone.
Yeah, you have to subscribe to the group individually to see it in your inbox, otherwise we can sort that.
I'll send
Chorus and IP issues aside, because I have absolutely no way of influencing that. But could you have a look at the 2 dates? And
when we get it,
because you guys have a WhatsApp as well, don't you? Is there a more informal way that you can come to a decision so that I can move it forward?
I'll sort it.
Thank you. Lovely. So that was one thing.
I think the 27th of November is
probably not going to happen.
No,
well, I think Monday night. I know where I'll be.
I can get some other dates if it's now too soon.
I think probably get something for kind of end of January, early Feb, and then let's take it from there. And I can then corral the troops.
We've got an awful lot of meetings.
This side of Christmas is absolutely manic.
Okay, so
I've literally got
end of Jan.
I don't even think I've even got a free date in December. I'm full. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's
we'll
all right.
address the issue. Well, we won't address it with them anymore.
And maybe that's another discussion point before council is how can officers contact you guys? It's not the first. I know it's no one's fault.
I think it's an IT problem that hopefully will be addressed with the new
in January.
Can I suggest? Do you need to get rid of chorus really quickly because I can?
Janet, it's been dealt with.
It's all right. They're going at the end of December. Don't worry.
Can I just say it doesn't appear to be a problem officers getting on with me.
Maybe when it's an individual email, it's okay, and then when it's a group email, it's
Individual, I get that.
Fine, it's the
It's not an
group
issue.
thing. That's the problem. Anyway.
I mean, but just to put something in that as diversity and equality kind of concerns my area as well. LGBT plus History Month is February. It would absolutely go in your favour to get something in before then, because that way you can also, you've got an opportunity then to do a bit of published media to say, before LGBT History Month, look at what our town council has done. You're the only town council that's actually approached us to do any form of diversity training. And I stood in a Western Town Council meeting and actually called 3 of their councillors out. So you're miles ahead of everyone else.
Just bear in mind, back in the January.
with
Yeah,
the
but
budget.
I think also his point is important to take on board. Just,
So,
get me a couple of days, couple in Jan, middle to the end of Jan, one at the start of Feb. Let's see what we come up with. I'll cry those roofs.
So if I forward those to you,
Yeah, send them
and
to
then
me,
you can,
and I'll then
that would be great.
disseminate between the rest of the team
All right,
and
lovely.
catch them all as they're walking out their front door.
Right. Okay, thank you. So if we revert back to the beginning.
So, yes, Mike.
Of the 2 dates, I appreciate that the 27th is very close, but the 8th of December is sort of reasonable.
Yeah. Some Friday night, I've been out every night that week.
Yeah,
With all due respect.
it's gonna need to go into January, Mike.
Yeah, fair.
I've already got a board at the front of my house that said, "This is Daddy. Do you remember him?" They're ready.
Thanks.
No worries.
It's lovely.
So Wellbeing Workshop series is continuing. It picks up again in January with living with chronic pain. And the last one, also in your attachment, there should be an evaluation form. And one of the action points, Janet and I have had a discussion. The last one was developing a healthy relationship with food. It was a much smaller turnout, but it's a really, really sensitive issue. It's quite delicate. And one of the action points Janet and I have discussed from that is whether we can set up a peer-to-peer support group within Portishead, because there isn't one around disordered eating. So that's something we're working on to see if we can pull that together with SWEDA, which are the commissioned service for eating disorders in this area.
We don't do anything in this area at all.
I would say these feedback, this analysis is great.
Is
great.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely great. It's
Brilliant.
It's great. Just great. Yeah. You know, it just shapes out. So
And I had a discussion earlier today. I might be able to hand some of them over, like the young people ones, to the children's centre and things like that. Anyway, it's a discussion. Wellbeing Partnership. The next one is in January. So we revert back to starting well. So we follow the JSNA Joint Strategic Needs Assessment in terms of the format for those meetings. So the one in January, we go back to looking at starting well. So it's a collaboration with all the wellbeing providers for children and young people. So that's on the 17th. Then Spring into Wellbeing, which we discussed earlier, will hopefully be in March. The Children and Young People Mental Health Nature-Based Project is quite an exciting collaboration with the West of England Nature Partnership. So it's a lady that I know through the Wellbeing Partnership, because if you look at the green social prescribing offerings in North Somerset, there is a service gap in Portishead. If you combine that with the Woodspring health data, we have a very high proportion of young people that arrive in emergency departments for self-harm. So there is funding available to support the mental health needs of children and young people. So they have been able to secure £10,000 in funding. And I'd quite like to put this project forward for UK Shared Prosperity funding as well, as a joint collaboration for further sustainability, to set up a green social prescribing location within Portishead, initially to service children and young people, but with more long-term sustainability to draw that out to the wider community. For example, Talk Club could do talk club groups around it and things like that. So that's in planning stage at the moment. Gordana are on board, Off the Record are on board, the Outdoor College are on board. So that's in progress.
Why can't we start using Brackenwood for that sort of thing? It's not safe.
But we have another potential location.
We have some really exciting potentials. Sharon's supporting me to look at Mead Park and go to Gales allotments, but then there is also some privately owned land that is adjoining Avon Wildlife Trust land in Weston Bigwood that might have legs, particularly if we can secure additional funding. So
They were already making inquiries as to whether they could have the Williams School.
So, and we'd quite like that this.
Oh, I think something goes tick.
And the aim of that, yeah, so it's in the Bavaria.
Yeah. Okay.
And the idea is we'd quite like to see if we can pull all of that together and launch at the Wellbeing Day.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I think it's a new Northamptonshire Council Ranger who I bumped into the other day, who was talking about green prescribing. I don't know what her name is, but I guess we're part of the John Flanagan's team. So I don't know. Can't remember. She's very.
Is she the young lady? Yeah, I think you mean she's brilliant. She's absolutely fantastic. Say quite a lot around the next episode. I think yes. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
There is one destination for Portishead because we're doing Willow Gardens up near PMG. The problem with Willow Gardens for this sort of project is very public. And so for young people, when all their mates might be over at McDonald's, they then don't want to be spotted being involved in a project where, so it's got to be somewhere that's a little bit more secluded. But yeah, so anyway, cost of living fund, I think is going to be amping up in importance as we approach winter. I was approached this morning at a conference by Citizens Advice that they will be reapplying for additional funds. So just to give you a heads up on that one, but they're really, really happy with how that's running.
Are they applying to other places as well? So it just, all they get from cans is, oh, they're going to us again, but can we see some evidence that they are actually applying to other places, please?
Yeah. So they get a lot of support from North Somerset Council, and any money that they get from us is ring-fenced from our residents only.
I'm just conscious that we need to, if we're going to keep giving money to people, whether whoever it is, I think as Wendy's kind of touched on, we need to make sure we can justify it.
Yeah.
And if we can't because we're not asking anybody else, then actually we have to seriously look at it, because we had this discussion regarding one local council a couple of years ago. It may have been mentioned this evening. So yeah, it's a really, it can be a touchy subject. So we're not saying no, obviously that's the last thing we're doing, but I think if long as they give us the evidence that they've asked X, Y, and Z, whether they get it is another story, but they have to have asked the question. And you know, we ask organisations to do it as well. So yeah, please, if we can. Thank you.
Well, we do have the Citizens Advice Board report.
Oh.
But, yeah.
It would be quite nice if we had a confidential list of what it's been spent on for Portishead residents.
They are about to update their report. They do indicate where it's going in a confidential way. I don't think they can, they can't divulge any. They can't break that down any further, but they have been providing that.
They give us numbers, effectively, which is the percentages of what the postcode is going to from memory. So
and purpose,
they gather so much data.
Yeah. And if anyone's interested, there is a cost of living data briefing every Tuesday that's run by Citizens Advice Bureau. It's a bit depressing, but fascinating of the data that they have access to.
I mean, they're going to need to come to us again anyway, the SLA for next year, but it may be a good idea to try and get them in January's full council. I know. I'm thinking it is because when we spoke to Richard and I can see her face. What's her name? Main person. Anyway. Fiona. Their kind of words were around the perfect storm is kind of end of the summer to now, but the problem is I I think the perfect storm has just been extended by what happened yesterday by a wonderful government, and the fact that suddenly the cost of energy is going up in January. Well, I mean, the last thing the energy company actually told us, and I know I'm being incredibly sarcastic, but we buy our fuel in advance. Okay, so then why are you putting it up in January? If we already bought it for January. So why is it suddenly going up 5% when the pinch is already in? The pinch is on. There's a guy in the press today that I've seen on a local group, but he, he's running out of money. He's just spent his last batch of savings. He's got no money. The problem, we're trying to help people, but yeah, I think when I did the agenda, when he asked them if they're coming in January, I know he's going to extend the meeting, but that's fine.
Yeah. We'll get them to come and talk to it.
Yeah, I just think it's important because they can be far more.
No, they're very forthright and they've got their fingers, so I will let them know to present in person and also to provide evidence where the funds.
Very quickly, because of time, but
I was just going to note, figures for 2023, April to September compared to 2022, it's been a rise in the number of people from reports that they've seen. It would be quite useful, as Ben was saying, to see some some stuff on food bank usages, but it's the whole patch rather than just
this is a standard thing that they produce. So we can go to them, we can ask for them to give us a more detailed report, which we can do more specific around it.
We did have the successful application by Alliance for the Christmas hampers, so that's ongoing. And the rest you can have the information only.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. Agenda item 13, Citizens Advice Quarterly Report, is there for us to divulge, and as per the conversation, we'll ask. We'll ask Rich to come in and do a talk on that. Agenda item 14, date of the next meeting. It's wrong on the notes because we have sort of changed things around recently.
24th of December.
I think it is you that asked it to be changed, Mr. Aldridge.
I'm on nights.
So it is now the next community matter meeting is on Monday, the 18th of December. At 7. Same time, same way.
In here. Same time.
Please bring your Santa's hats.
7.
If we finish at a sensible o'clock time, then we'll take you all out for Christmas drink. A glass of water.
What's the meat?
Well, you said.
Okay. We will bring the meeting to a close. Mike, thank you very much for your joining online.